Hey everybody, welcome back to Money and Music. I am Doc. Today we're going to be listening to some heavy hitters in the finance and music industry.
If you can buy a soda, you can invest.
We own hip hop, but we don't own rap music.
What's the cliche statement? If you hang around 5 rich people, you'll be the 6th.
I listen to his music because he's talking about, hey, how much farther he wants to go.
And I tell people in my business, I turn dreamers into doers.
Welcome back to Money and Music. My name is Doc Fuller. I am the host, and today we have the CEO and producer of Beyond Casting and Productions, a real boss in the film industry. Today we have Princess Banuzzi. Princess, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, we're in ATL. We're filming today, right? You have been in the industry, especially in ATL, for quite some time, doing lots of different things, right? So for our viewers at home, tell us a little bit more about Princess and kind of how you got to where you are being a boss.
Okay. So I guess I'll start from the beginning of my story.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know, but I actually got into the entertainment industry as a background dancer. Right? Yeah.
Wait, what video?
Not videos. I never did videos.
Okay.
Well, I did a couple of them. I did a couple of Neo videos, and that's really it. I didn't do a lot of videos, but mostly touring. So I got to travel the world on someone else's dime and doing what I love to do. So,
is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. I don't really share it as much, but I've started adding it to my brand story because I really feel like God blessed me with an opportunity to do what I love, turn my passion into a profitable career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't get to do that. And now I'm on my second leg as a producer, and a business owner doing the same thing. So, I started off dancing. I danced for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then as I was transitioning out of dance, I started helping aspiring talent. So dancers, actors, models, singers, and I started doing artist development and just helping them along the way,
Mm-hmm.
So I started my first company called Beyond the Steps, which is a consulting and coaching company for entertainers.
Now, how old were you when you started that?
I was,
I don't want to put.
Date me
okay,
now.
no, okay. I'm not gonna date you. I'm not gonna go there.
But I started that company about 7 years ago.
7 years ago. I like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I started 7 years ago. And it was really because I wanted to shift the mindsets of the talent, right?
Right.
I didn't want you to just think, oh, I'm a pretty face or I'm just a dancer. I wanted you to go into that workplace as an entrepreneur, right? You're selling your own brand. You are marketing your own brand, right?
Right.
So that's what I wanted dancers and actors and models and singers to think about, right? How do you conduct yourself as a businessman or a businesswoman? And what tools do you need to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because after we cannot dance anymore, we cannot sing anymore, we cannot walk that runway anymore, what do you do, right?
Right.
So my consulting and coaching company was teaching them how to really level up their careers and make it a profitable, profession versus it just being, something you were passionate about or a hobby, right?
Right.
So I did that. And in that transition, I started just thinking I was helping people and helping artists do videos. I remember the first day that someone called me a producer. I didn't know what a producer was, right? So I came in and we were working with an artist that was signed to Flow Rider at the time.
Okay.
And she was a friend, her choreographer was a friend because I come from dance. And I was like, oh yeah, my friend has a location. Oh, my friend owns a camera. My friend does this. Or yeah, I can get you some dancers. They're all my friends. They could dance in your video.
Right.
And the director came in and everything was done for him. He was like, so who did this? And everybody's like, oh yeah, Princess. So he came up to me at the end of the video shoot and he says, what do you do? I'm like, I'm just a friend. I'm just helping.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And he's just like, no, you're a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And something clicked and I went home and I just researched what a producer is, the different types of producers. And I was like, oh man, I am. I get to help people. I get to employ people. I do logistics. I connect people with my network. And that's what producers do, right?
Right.
So that's how I got into producing and started my Beyond Casting and Production company.
Right. So really turning your passion into a profit, right?
Mhm.
And we've seen others that did that,
Mhm.
right? So looking at J-Lo, dancer, background dancer as well, in Living Color Days and all of that, right? And then she transitioned to now films, right? She has perfume, clothing line, so many different things. So for the next generation, what do you think about like having a multitude of different yous, right? Being
Yeah.
able to develop and grow and like create new versions of yourself and new income streams
Mhm.
and develop as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some people like kind of shy away from the jack of all trades
Mhm.
kind of thing. But I've always been someone who's either above average or average at everything because I wanted to know a little bit about a lot of things. And that makes you well versed, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think people should shy away from that. I think they should embrace that they're able to step in any room and regardless of the topic they're talking about, you have some input, right? Because when I live my day to day, I always think about how am I being impactful and how I'm adding value.
Mm.
And by doing that, you have to have knowledge. So I think that, being a jack of all trades or being someone who is well versed in everything can get you into many rooms. And once you're in that room, then you can show up and show out, right?
Right, right.
But if you're not even invited to it, then, what are you going to do?
Yeah, yeah. And that's interesting. Is like, I love the musical Hamilton. They talked about there's a line in there that said, I want to be in the room where it happens, right? And I don't think without the knowledge, you can't be in that room, right?
Mhm.
You can't spar because you haven't done your homework.
Exactly.
And so like, what did that look like for you? Because there's no formal training a lot of times to do the things that you've done, right? There's certainly schools, but in your situation, it was just kind of self-taught. Is that correct?
From dance. So I went to school at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. So I have a double concentration in marketing and entrepreneurship.
Right.
So and it still plays, to what I do now.
Yeah.
But as far as the physical aspect of dancing.
Oh, I mean on the business side.
Oh, okay, on the business side.
Yeah.
So it it translates to what I'm doing now. I'm an entrepreneur and I market my brand, right?
Right.
But I also started school doing accounting. So I have a background in numbers. And so as a producer, I always tell people we manage time, money, and people. So you have to understand people, you have to be adaptable, you have to understand emotions, but then you also have to be, you have to understand logistics because you have to stay on time in order to make sure that the money adds up. So I'm a line producer, but I'm also, there's so many different producers. I'm an executive producer, line producer, associate producer. And so we always think about the bottom line. Do these numbers align, for whether we're going to make a return on the investment that we're putting into or how much we're going to pay our employees or our 1099 contractors. So yeah, that definitely college aided in that and just giving me some of those tools and resources. But then it's also just, I think networking plays a big role. Like there's so many producers that are with Tyler Perry or working with Warner or whatever. And I call them and I say, hey, I got a question about this. I don't know this part,
Right, right. Your
And
community, right?
Yeah, and it's big to build a community, and it's also big to let your ego aside and be okay with asking for help and assistance. And I think that sometimes we shy away from that because we want to feel like we know it all.
Right.
But it's okay to ask questions and be inquisitive because that makes you a better person all around. And then I also just personally don't like being the smartest person in the room, right? I like to be a
That's it.
sponge and soak it up.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
call me stupid if you want to. I
Right.
mean, to be real. So yeah, that's what I would say.
So I think you touched on a couple of different things there, but like when you talk about that entrepreneurship and that mindset shift and kind of being a jack of all trades, how do you go from being school taught to having some of that on the job training, and like what does it take to do that and the networking piece? Because they don't teach networking in school. They don't teach stuff that's outside of that curriculum. Like you learn stuff in college, right? But what percentage of the stuff that you learn in college versus what you learned in the real world do you actually utilize? Like how much of it was self-taught?
Most of it is self-taught, right? And there's two parts. One, it just comes from doing, right? And I tell people in my business, I turn dreamers into doers because it's one thing to have a dream and say, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that, but it's actually one thing to put action, put forth action daily. And like when I do networking events, I challenge myself to speak to 3 to 5 people each time and get contacts, right? And then I also have a follow-up challenge to actually reach back out to them and talk to them and build relationships with them if it's genuine, right? And I think a lot of people don't do that, and that's just like something simple that you can do as a daily task.
That's free.
Yeah, it's free game. Like you literally can go out there and just talk to people.
Right.
So that's one thing. But then my mom was an entrepreneur. She owned several businesses growing up. So I got to actually see it.
Visualization and
Yeah.
actually physically see something.
Yeah. So
Right.
putting yourself amongst people like that. You may have an uncle, you may have a cousin, an auntie, or someone who has something, they're starting a business. They maybe you may think it's a small business. And I tell people take small and little out your vocabulary, but because you don't know what you can learn from them. So I got to see my mom as an entrepreneur and just know like, yeah,
It's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, and I can do it.
Right. And they said you said something earlier where you talked about you need to surround yourself. There's a old African proverb to say if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
And I think like how much of your success do you attribute to that tribe mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on finding your tribe. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, it may seem a little lonely, because you're working day in and day out on your business and brand. But it becomes relatable when you have people that you can reach out to and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," or celebrate.
Yeah.
I just hit this mile marker and this milestone. Let's go out for dinner. Let's go out for drinks. So having that tribe around you, one that's either to support you, uplift you, encourage you, or even celebrate you, is like it's definitely something you have to have around you. And I encourage everyone to create that tribe of amazing people, men or women, right?
Mhm. And you hit me with some inspiration just a bit ago. You was like, Doc, you know that like this is a big moment for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like I have new titles now. You're just like, no, you're a director, you're executive producer, you're a TV show creator and a host, a writer,
Yeah.
like all of these different things. And it was like probably the same thing when you heard that you're a producer. It's like I don't think I've been able to fully internalize like how big those titles are. So that's inspirational for me. And with this being money and music, what kind of inspiration do you see out there listening to music? I love hip hop, right? And so like from a music perspective, is there an artist or a song out there that motivates, inspires you, whether it be for around business, around investing, around just being a boss?
Oh man. I mean, there's many artists. I'm trying to think of a song, but I mean, you got Nipsey, and I love Nipsey.
So Nipsey has actually recorded in this studio that we're shooting in. So what's a thought or a something that Nipsey put out there that resonates with you?
It's one song. Forgive me if I don't do it right.
That's all right. That's all right.
But
it can be generalized.
It's I think it's called dedication or motivation. But he says dedication, hard work plus patience. And I always tell people like, for me, it's a lot of work to build out your dream, right?
Right.
And it does take patience. I think we live in a society where it's instant gratification because we got
True.
Instagram and all this stuff.
True.
And people see it and just, want it. But sometimes it's about timing and God's timing for you. So that really resonates with me. And then you have to be dedicated to what you're doing, because I'm big on turning your passion into something purposeful, right? Because when it has purpose behind it, then you're really going to excel and succeed in it. If you're just doing it to do it, then I mean, you'll get some money, but it's not going to feel the same. So,
Right.
Yeah, that Nipsey, I think it's dedication. I think that's what
Yeah,
it's called.
Nipsey has so many bars.
Yeah.
He had a lot of great bars, and I think he was just talking about a lot about gentrifying your own place. Jay-Z at the Webster, he did a Nipsey Hussle tribute song, and he said, gentrify your own hood before the people do it. Use eminent domain and have those people moving. He's like, that's just what Nipsey was doing. And he was saying that Nipsey Hussle, he was like, we're not crabs in a barrel.
Mhm.
It's like we can easily get out the barrel if we stand on each other's back. And that's what Nipsey Hussle was doing. He was holding on from the top of the barrel and pulling others up with them, So with that in mind, like, how do you create the next generation of you? If you were to go back and say, like, what advice would I give the younger version of me? What would that be?
I give us so much advice now. 'Cause in my day, no. I would say invest early.
Okay.
Understand money, not just how to make it, but how to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, ooh,
And
how-
let me pick that apart real
Mhm.
quick, because I think that's a hidden jewel. So when you talk about make your money work for you, what are your thoughts behind turning your dollars that you had to work for into workers?
You got to.
Yeah. So how
What you mean?
so how do you make your money work for you?
I mean, investments,
Mhm.
stocks, retirement, reinvesting it into the business.
Mhm.
There's so much. I mean, yeah, that's just
That's
for me
pretty
to
much
start,
what you have to
Mhm.
do,
Yeah.
right? So how are you creating the next generation of wealth in your family?
I think just that, doing my investments, and when I do have my kids, just teaching them,
Mhm.
how.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, and they say you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
not
And so
at
I
all.
think a lot of folks in our community, they were never taught, right? And so if the parents didn't know, they can't teach you anything. So like, I'm learning from you right now, because you've been in the game, doing some big things for quite some time. What are some of the bigger projects you worked on, and like the biggest budget even that you've had for a project?
Oh wow. So I hate bragging on myself.
Y-
This is always the
Yeah, but
hardest part. I usually be like, okay, come sit right here and brag for me.
no,
because
no,
I don't-
but I want people to know, like exactly, like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
giving you your flowers.
Yeah.
Like you've done some major things.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I just did was the Twerkulated video that Missy Elliott directed, which was her first, was just her directorial debut.
Shout out City
So,
Girls.
yeah, so that was good. And then, I mean, I've worked with 2 Chainz, I worked with T.I., Lil Baby. One project that really spoke to my heart and pulled at my heartstrings was we did a video with Young Thug,
Mm-hmm.
Lil Baby, what is the other one? Gunna,
Gunna.
and there's one more, Trek. And what we did was we got 30 prisoners out of Fulton County Jail. People who were just in there for petty crimes that could not pay for their bail, and we just got them out, right?
Mhm.
And that was a process. It wasn't just me doing a video. We shot a music video, and we took them to dinner and everything, and showed the process. But it was 2 weeks of talking to the sheriff and the bail bondsman, and trying to plead their case, and getting their families who may not be in Atlanta because they were just arrested in Atlanta, So it was a full process, and that really spoke to me. So that's why I go back to the purpose. Like sometimes I'm doing these videos and it's these celebrity names, and it's great, but at the end of the day, like what's really speaking to you? And when they called me for that project, I was like, I don't even care about money, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I could make money. Let's go and help these families. But yeah, and so I have a couple of things coming up. We finished the feature film that should be coming out in end of November. Yep. So that was my first feature.
That's dope.
I did a TV show with Cam Newton on BET called Sip and Smoke.
Mhm.
And we had some amazing guests from Steve Harvey to Tiana Taylor.
Mhm.
And I'm working on season 2 of a new show as a producer of it. So I just got that contract, so I can't really discuss that. But yeah, I got a lot of good things coming, and I'm just blessed to be where I am now.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Well, Princess, thank you for joining us today. I think you shared quite an amazing story, but also gave the pathway where people can follow in your footsteps. You're definitely rising and raising others. And like, I think we need to, I think we need to get better at sharing all of the blessings and sharing that story and that pathway, right?
Yeah.
Because like drama sells in the news, on TV, right? You put some drama on Instagram, it'll get 1 million likes. You put
Some
something
good
like this,
news.
what you all did with those 30 plus individuals, right? That doesn't make the news. That's not sexy, right? And I think we have to start celebrating more the positive news. So kudos to everything that you're doing in the community. Kudos to the work that you have coming up and all of this that you've done in the past. And like you said, you're a boss, bringing other bosses along that journey with you and teaching them along the way. And that's what we're all about.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.